Hey everyone, this is Ryan from Athix Fitness, and you are listening to Season 2 of the Athix Approach podcast, the podcast where we highlight inspirational vegan athletes and what they do to absolutely kill it on a plant-based diet. If you haven't already, it would really help out if you subscribed to, liked, commented, and or shared any of the content I'm producing, including this podcast, Athix Coaching Services, articles and training programs available on athixfitness.com, videos on YouTube, and more. Links for those will be in the description, and I truly appreciate everyone listening for all of the continued love and support. In this episode, Jen Morgan joins me to talk all about her experiences as a competitive vegan strongwoman athlete in the Masters 132 and 148 pound weight classes. Strongman is a competition that includes a variety of events where the goal is to demonstrate the highest feat of strength possible on a particular movement to beat out other competitors in the weight class. You may have heard of the World's Strongest Man or World's Strongest Woman competition, which is one of the most renowned competitions in the strongman universe and includes such athletes as Donna Moore, Andrea Thompson, Olga Liaschuk, and I may have just butchered that name, Eddie Hall, Brian Shaw, and Halfthor Bjornnsen, otherwise known by his role as the Mountain in the popular Game of Thrones series. Although the specific events in strongman competitions always change a bit, some staples that frequently appear include some variety of deadlifts, squats, lifting stones, log or axle press, farmer's carries or yoke walks, vehicle pulls, keg toss, and tire flips, for example. Jen walks me through the basics of what entails these competitions, how she trains for them, what got her into them, the strongman community in general, her reasons for going vegan, her experiences training for strongman and powerlifting as a vegan athlete, and much, much more. Jen is insanely, mind-blowingly strong, and it was super interesting hearing all about these things during our conversation. Jen can be found on social media at _jacked_Jenny_. So 3 underscores in there. I really hope you enjoy the episode as much as I enjoyed our chat, and thank you so much again to Jen for coming on. What's up, guys? This is Ryan with the Athix Approach podcast, and I'm here today with Jen Morgan. Jen is a strong woman. She competes in strongman competitions. We were just talking about how it's a weird little explanation there about the sport versus the competitor, the title at least. Yeah, Jen, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day and everything. I know you just got done picking up your daughter from oboe practice, you said. So first of all, thank you.
You're welcome. Pleasure to be here.
Oh yeah, thank you so much. So do you want to do a quick little intro for yourself about who you are, what you do, just quick overview if you had to give like the elevator pitch,
Sure. So my name is Jenny, and I have been competing as a strong woman for the past 3 or 4 years now. I've been vegan for 14 years, and I live in the Midwest where it's always cold and rainy. And that's about it. I'm a teacher. I've been teaching for 23 years, and I have a 14-year-old daughter who's also vegan. She's been vegan since she was 7, and she went vegan by choice. So we're a vegan family. Her dad is also vegan, her dad's fiance and her dad's fiance's daughter. So that's me in a nutshell. Strongman has been my passion for the past few years. I love it because it's just fun. I've done a little bit of bodybuilding. I've done powerlifting. I used to powerlift competitively. I was always average at it. And strongman is where I've kind of found my real strengths as an athlete and just as a person. And it's where I've found my community of people. So
there's already just so many questions I have. I want to unpack so much of that. First of all, you want to get into what is strongman? If you like, I don't even know really what it is. If you could just summarize it, what is it?
Sure. Yeah. So strongman is a series of push, pull, carry, and load. That's the first thing I always tell everyone. So when you go to a strongman competition or a contest or show, they're all used interchangeably. You're going to usually do a series of 5 different events, and they will all have some element of strongman. There's usually a deadlift. of some sort, and it's not just a regular deadlift. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's for reps, which is why you'll see us wearing straps, because sometimes grip gives out. There's usually an overhead element like a log press or an axle press, and sometimes it's clean and press away. Sometimes it's clean every rep. I mean, that's what's fun about it, is that it's different every time. The strongman is the sport where you see people loading the big concrete stones. They're called Atlas stones. Farmer holds, farmer carries, yoke walks, truck pulls, tire flips, and really anything a promoter wants to come up with, as long as it sort of adheres to those five, the push, pull, carry, and load. That's basically what strongman is. Yeah.
So do you know before you get into the competition what you're training for?
Yeah, so I will look at contests and I will decide which ones I would like to compete in, and I will train specifically for those events. So when I'm training, my training looks, well, I want to say it looks, the events training looks different every time I compete, because I'm competing based on those events, but the basics are always the same for my training. So I'm always deadlifting, because deadlifting is my jam. I love to deadlift and I'm really good at it. So I'm always deadlifting, and there's always going to be a deadlift event. And then I'm always doing some sort of overhead press work, because there's going to be some sort of overhead press. But the basic movements that I train during the week are always the same basic movements. And then on the weekends, when I'm event training, I'll train the specific events for whatever it is that I'm competing for. So, for example, this weekend I'm actually competing in Marion, Illinois, which is out by Carbondale, for anybody who knows the area. I haven't really been paying attention to what the events are, because I'm already qualified for nationals, so this is just fun for me. But I know that there's a deadlift ladder, so I think I'm going to be doing 3 different types of deadlifts all in a row. The last one is going to be for reps. I think there's a stone load, and then there's a log press, and I can't remember what else, but so I would be training, if I were really focused on this contest, I'd be training specifically those events on the weekends. And then weekdays are just building up my strength for, pressing, pushing, carrying, and loading, and cardio, of course.
Right, because it's very cardio oriented too, right?
Yeah, that's the other thing I like about it, is that it's not just strength. You have to have the cardio as well. I just like to be a well-rounded athlete, and so that does it for me.
Right. Some of these events, I was watching, some strongman competitions and such, and I'm seeing them hit max rep deadlifts on like the car deadlifts and such, or whatever they are. And I'm seeing them hitting like sometimes 20 something reps.
Yeah.
Which is like, that's gonna like burn out your lungs, if
Yeah.
you're not ready for that.
Right.
So
And
that
it's
makes a lot of
also
sense.
strategic, because you have to know your strengths and your weaknesses. Like I'm tall, so deadlift should be a weakness for me. I mean, it's not really, but it should be. Whereas shorter people, they don't have to, they don't have to go as far. However, on a loading platform, I'm going to have the advantage because I'm already taller. So I like the strategy aspect of strongman as well. There's also the strategy of watching the people go before you. So if the person before me does 8 reps on a deadlift, I know I have to get 9. If the person before me gets 2 and I'm capable of 12, I'm only going to do 3. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to burn out on those extra 9 reps if I don't have to. So there's also a lot of strategy involved that I didn't really experience in powerlifting, and I like that. I like the data. I'm very data driven.
Yeah. And yeah, like you were saying with powerlifting, it's like there's literally just 3 lifts, and it's just like, I mean, there's not much strategy there. You kind of just get in there and like, yeah, I guess you could kind of finesse your attempts a little bit, but with strongman, it sounds like you really need to conserve that energy, because if you're hitting an all-out set of deadlifts, you're gonna toast your central nervous system
Right.
for everything else after.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's interesting is that when you sign up for a contest, if I'm the first person to sign up, that means I go last in the
Hmm.
rotation,
Mm.
because I have the benefit now of watching everybody else go. So there's incentive for signing up really early because you get to go last. So I get to watch everybody ahead of me and go, okay, so I only need to get two, or
Yeah.
I only need to do whatever it is I need to do. So I know
Uh-huh.
ahead of time. So I have the advantage.
So does that
Yeah.
mean that people are scurrying to sign up quickly for these events?
It should, but it doesn't always work that way. Like I have not signed up for nationals yet, so I'm probably going to be
Uh-huh.
going first. If I go to nationals.
Hmm.
Um, but it should, I mean, technically, yeah, it should go that way, but it doesn't always go that way.
Okay. So what qualifies you to be invited to nationals and everything? Is there certain numbers on specific events, or because it's also different for every event, it sounds like, right?
Yeah, so you have to win the overall show. So
Okay.
you get points for every event. You have to
Hmm.
win the overall show. I think they take the top three. Don't quote me on that, but I think they take the top three to nationals. Now this upcoming Saturday, I think I'm the only woman in my weight class, which is 132. So
Okay.
I'll get an invite for the 132 class, because I'm the only one.
Hmm.
But I'm already qualified as a 148, so I'll get to choose what weight class I want to do. It'll probably be 148.
So are you cutting down for this? Do you normally compete at 148?
No, I've normally competed at 132, but
Okay.
I'm getting awfully tired of having to be lean all the time and
Uh-huh.
having to watch every single thing I eat. So
Uh-huh.
I'm proud. This will probably be my last contest at 132 because I'm almost 5'9". So that's
Oh,
very
wow.
light. Yeah, it's very
Hmm.
light for my height. So I think
Hmm.
148 is going to be less stressful for me because it's been a
Hmm.
very stressful couple of months leading into this. And
Right.
actually, the last contest I did in December, I didn't make weight. So which is why I ended up qualifying for 148. But it was so stressful trying to make weight, and I just couldn't do it.
Hmm.
So this time I will, but nationals I'll probably do 148.
So for those who don't know, when you say make weight, what are some of the strategies that you would use here to get into your weight class? Are you
Well,
pulling out all the stops here? Like, are you water cutting? Are you like,
no,
you're not?
no,
Okay.
no. In fact, that's what I should have done for the December show.
Okay.
To be honest, water cuts kind of scare me because you also have to do a salt load.
Hmm.
And I'm very health conscious. So
Okay.
I know plenty of people who do it all the time and they're fine, but I guess I'm just a wimp. So now I just you had asked me in the document you shared with me if I track my calories and my macros. That's
Hmm.
what I do. And I've done that for years because I enjoy tracking. I know it's not for everybody,
Hmm.
but it works for me. So I track my calories, so I lower my calories, and then that Stairmaster and I, Ryan, let me tell you, we're like this right now. When that Stairmaster sees me walk into that gym, it
Hey, what's
calls
going
to
on,
me.
Jen?
I've read many books on that Stairmaster over the past couple months. So that's how I'm doing it. And that's also why I want to move up in weight because
Yeah.
Lord help
Yeah.
me. I'm kind of tired of it.
Right, that totally makes sense. And part of the
Yeah.
thing with cutting the weight that you're doing, it means that you're going to lose a little bit of strength with that, right?
Well, yes and no. I was doing all of this cardio before for the December show that I did.
Hmm.
I woke up at 135, so I was only 3 pounds overweight, which really ticked me off. Weighed in at 139, but I still pulled a 390 deadlift at
That's insane.
technically 135. So,
Uh-huh.
could I have pulled 400 if I hadn't been doing the cardio? Maybe, but
Yeah.
I don't think I've lost that much. But also, this weekend the weights aren't going to be that heavy for me, so I'm not really
Hmm.
concerned about it. But
Hmm.
technically, yeah, it could. And I do think once I do a little less cardio, I'm hoping to see my strength go up a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got a lot of success so far in that 135 weight class, you said, right?
The
And you're kind of like
132, yeah.
132, and you're kind of gonna move up and then try to hit bigger numbers in the 148. That's the goal there. Or are
Yeah,
you?
because I'm turning 46 this week. And I've
Hmm.
been lifting for a long time, and I'm at the very top of my strength.
Uh-huh.
You get to a point where if you want to get stronger, you have to gain a little bit of weight. So I
Yeah,
think I'm like
absolutely.
right at the top where I can stay here and just not get much stronger, or I can gain
Hmm.
weight and get stronger. Because I really want to
Hmm.
pull, I really want a 405 deadlift. I want to pull 4 plates. So I don't
Hmm.
think I'm going to do that at 132, but I think in the 140s I can do that.
Yeah. And how long have you been lifting for at this? Oh, well, just in general, actually. Your whole life?
Um, No, I mean, I've been an athlete my whole life of some
Okay.
sort. I started
Hmm.
lifting the baby weights in my early 30s, well,
Hmm.
maybe late 20s, early 30s, and then powerlifting in my mid 30s, and then mid to late 30s. And then I've been
Hmm.
doing this for 3 or 4 years, lifting really as heavy as I can. I would say 8 or 9 years, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I've always been doing, something. I used to do the
Yeah.
like the step classes and
Hmm. Hmm.
the group strength classes where I'd have oops, sorry. Where I'd have like
That's
my
okay.
15-pound weights, and I would be doing I started off with 2.5 pound dumbbells when I
Oh,
started
wow. Okay.
lifting. So I started from really nothing.
Uh-huh.
Um, proving that anybody can really get stronger because now
Yeah,
I'm
that's
old.
hey, you're never old until you just start giving up, which
Until you
I
say
think
you're old,
that's
really.
until you really admit it. Yeah, until you just
Yeah.
you yeah. But I know I see you you're deadlifting 390 and 135 pounds body weight. That is absolutely insane. So that's
Thank you.
I mean that's right around three times body weight,
It's
which is
close. It's close.
it's so close. But like that's I mean for anyone who doesn't understand, that's like elite levels for sure. That's an insane deadlift. Like you do not see that anywhere.
Thank
You will
you.
never see that in a commercial gym or anything. Yeah, that's incredible. So that's a great testament that like it's never too late to start. It's never too late to be
Yeah,
strong.
that's
It's so
true. That's
awesome.
true. Yeah, it's true.
So where do you see yourself going in the next couple years? Do you plan to keep competing in strongman at that 148 then?
Yeah, I think I'll stick around at the 148s. The hard part about being a strong woman is
Hmm.
that so another reason I'm moving up is for more competition because there are not a lot of small, I call it the little old lady class because it literally is. It's almost the smallest. There aren't a lot of masters women
Uh-huh.
who are lightweights to compete against. So
So you're
I
already
actually,
like at the top by default almost.
yeah, and I don't like that. I want some competition, even if I'm
More
going to
competition. Hmm.
lose. So that's another reason. And I'm looking forward to the next couple of years having some more competition
Hmm.
um, with me because the camaraderie in strongman
Yeah.
just cannot be beat. So I think that's going to be really fun. I guess I just keep doing what I'm doing and get as strong as I can until I see that decline.
Hmm. And I
Hopefully not.
imagine no, oh, sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was just going to say in the sport of strongman, people actually they don't peak in their 20s and 30s. They peak
Uh-huh.
around my age or a little bit older. So I still have some time.
Really? Okay. I
Yeah.
would I find that first of all that's awesome to hear. I'm used to hearing strength sports like I hear around 35, 40 they tend to peak a lot. 35 I've heard for a lot of strength sports. And then I've heard for like bodybuilding and such like maybe 40s-ish. But I'm thinking about the combination like the strength endurance aspect of strongman and hearing you say, 45-ish, that's amazing because I would have thought that would be a sport where I would normally hear like 35-ish based on what I've heard for, powerlifting and such.
I mean, I guess I didn't compete when I was that age, so I can't really speak for that level. But I know that the Masters Strong men get very, very competitive in their 40s. And I know, I guess in their
Oh
50s,
wow.
that's when they start, the old decline a little bit. But, but I think
Hey,
I'm
that's
right
why
where I
there's
need to be.
yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're at the top of your game. And that's why there's several Masters divisions, right? There's Masters 1, 2, 3.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a 50 plus. So
Hmm.
I'll be a master's athlete and then I'll be master's 50 plus where I'll be competing against myself. No, hopefully not. Hopefully not. So we're always trying to get more women into the sport
Yeah.
because it's such a male dominated sport. And we
Right, right.
want people to compete against. But, it can be intimidating for women. I was
Hmm.
very intimidated by the strongman crew that was at my old gym because, it's kind of scary. They're working with
Yeah, they're
these giant,
beasts.
yeah, they are. And they don't, when they get in the zone, and you don't know them, they don't feel
Scary.
very welcoming because they're too focused. Not too focused, but they're
Yeah.
focused. So
Yeah.
I was afraid of that until my coach actually invited me to train with them. And I was like, okay, well, I don't
Hmm.
have a powerlifting team anymore. So let's do it. I don't know what any of this is, but
Hmm.
it was the best decision I ever made. I don't see myself I mean, maybe I'll, get into acrobatics or something when I'm in my 60s, little old lady stuff, but
I love
I don't
that
see
though, just
myself
always
doing
finding
something
new stuff.
different. You have
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
the older you get,
You
you
got to
gotta
adapt.
you have to adapt and you have to do what brings you joy. And
Yeah,
while this brings me joy, that's what I'm gonna do for sure.
I love that. So there's a couple things I wanted to touch on there. So first of all, your powerlifting coach is who kind of got you into strongman?
No, my strongman coach did.
Oh, okay.
The powerlifting journey is kind of a weird one.
Hmm.
But in the powerlifting community, it often gets kind of messy. And so the powerlifting team sort of disbanded itself, and I was left I wasn't left, but I stayed at my gym and they all kind of left. Um, and there was still kind of a very small strongman team there. My
Hmm.
coach was new to coaching strongman, at least at that gym. And
Hmm.
he sort of invited me in, and I was like, well, I kind of need a new family. So,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
here we are. And what ended up happening is, we left that gym and we ended up training at my house. So now in the
Hmm.
summer months, if you look at my Instagram, that's my
The
garage.
garage gym. Yeah, I saw
Yeah,
it.
so we train here and it's just so much fun. But we're
Yeah.
not here during the winter because I don't have heat, but we'll be hopefully. My coach would like to find a permanent home, but he'll be the first to tell you that I want to stay here because I love training in my house.
Do you have
It's been
who do you
very
train with at your house? Just by yourself, or do you bring anyone over?
no, the whole team comes here in the summer.
What?
Yeah,
Okay, that sounds
yeah.
like a blast.
It's oh my God, it's so much fun. It's so much
Are
fun.
you
I love
like
it.
barbecuing some veggie burgers up for them and stuff?
Oh God, no, but sometimes I'll bring out treats. I do like to bring out the treats. My
Okay,
daughter
you
one
break
year
out the
sold banana bread, but yeah.
oh nice. You break out the tasty vegan desserts and get them all to
Heck
go vegan.
yeah. Heck yeah. God, I wish. Try getting a group
Yeah.
of giant strong men to go vegan. It's harder
I
than it
was
sounds.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's something I really want to talk about with when we get over to like the vegan aspects. But let's close out the strongman section here. What do you
Yes,
think?
sure.
Do, do you think that having a good gym and a support team and such is really important for a sport like strongman? It sounds like you do. Like it's a
Yeah, well,
key, almost
first,
like a key.
yeah, because for strongman, all the equipment is specialized, so you really need to have
Okay.
the equipment. Um, I train by myself during the week. I only train with my team 1 day a week, which I love. I love training by myself. But yeah, you
Uh-huh.
have to have the specialized equipment and you have to have the space for it. And that's one of the problems in finding a strongman gym. We're outside, we'll go across the street to the elementary school. because we're tossing sandbags, we've got yokes, we're pulling trucks. So you have to have the space. As for the team and the community, yeah, I do feel like, I mean, I know there are people who train on their own, and that's awesome. But I think it really, really helps to have a team around you who knows what they're doing and supports you. Because in strongman, you cheer everyone on, even your competition. That's just how it is. So it's really nice to have that support system for sure. Yeah.
That's awesome. My only experience is I trained at a I trained at a powerlifting gym for a long time, and I did one powerlifting meet. But my experience is that everyone was just so damn supportive, and it made you really fall in love with doing that.
Yeah, it sure does, doesn't it?
Yeah. So and also like there's that sense of camaraderie there. It's like that friendly competition that really drives you to like push yourself too, you know? So
yeah, it really does. There's a woman on my strongman team with me, and you know, I'll always be like, well, what did she do on this? Okay, so I have to get, you know, I have to get X amount more. You know, we compete in a friendly way with one another. I'll even compete with the men, especially in a grip event. Don't get me started on grip. If you're a man, I still want to outgrip you. It does not matter.
That's great. That's insane.
So I'll compete against them for grip for sure.
That's crazy. Yeah, 135 pounds, and you're still keeping up with them. That's amazing.
Yeah, I gotta try.
Yeah. You kind of touched on it a little bit, but what really drew you into strongman specifically, considering that like you said, it is super intimidating at first, and not normally a sport where a lot of women find their way to.
I liked that it was different. I liked that it's ever changing, because you're not doing the same lifts or the same events every week. But I think really the answer is that I am a person that continually needs to be challenged in all ways, in all areas of my life. And strongman is always challenging me in so many different ways. And it's always new, because every contest is different. And when you show up to a contest, it might even be different from what was listed in originally.
The description.
You might show up and they're like, okay, so we were going to do a log press, but we couldn't find enough logs, so we're doing axle press, you know? I like that about it.
It's still similar enough, but it's still a different movement to an extent, and it's like throws everybody off.
It's still a press. I'm like, okay, well, I haven't axle pressed in a year, but here we go. And it doesn't matter. It's just fun. Everybody has a great time, you know?
Yeah. What were some of your, I guess, some of your competitions that you've done, as well as maybe some of your favorite or objectively best feats of strength in competition? Or just even in the gym at that rate, really?
Yeah, well, obviously my 390 deadlift, that was just December 5th. So I'm was just high over that. That was my biggest accomplishment. Yeah, that was just in December. Jeez. And then that wasn't competition, right? That was in training. It was.
Or
no, it was. Wow. Yeah, it was at a contest. Yeah, in front of a bunch of people. And I opened up when I was a powerlifter. I used to open up at 330. Well, when I was at the top of my powerlifting game, but I opened at 360. And then that alone, I was like, it was crazy to me. And then I went to 370 and then 390. And then at that same contest, I won a national record for farmer's hold. And that's my second national record for farmer hold. So I now own the records for the 132 class and the 148 class in farmer hold. So those are probably the three biggest.
Wow. Okay. And the competition that you just said, the 148, that was when you missed your way in?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So what happened there, I was going to break my own record, my own farmer hold record. Didn't make weight. And I was like, well, that's fine. I'll just break the middleweight record or the second lightweight record. And she's like, okay, but it's 30 pounds per hand heavier. And I was like, oh God. And and I hadn't trained for that, but I broke it anyway. So that was a pretty cool accomplishment for me. And I had my daughter.
That's legendary.
It was so great. I had my daughter on the platform with me, just telling me stories the whole time. She's such a good supporter for me. She talks to me. No idea what she's saying, but she was up there with me, just going on and on. So that's helpful for me. It's kind of how I get in the zone.
Those are some insane lifts you can do there.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a good time.
So you sound like you're already almost competitive in the 148, being even that much lighter.
I hope so. We're gonna find out. Well, I probably won't find out this weekend, but if I do nationals, we'll find out then. I've got one friend who I'm very much looking forward to competing against. I messaged her a couple days ago. I was like, "Are you doing 148 at nationals?" So she'll be my big competition, and I'm really looking forward to competing against her. I said, even if you kick my ass, I just want to compete against you because I know you're strong. So if I can keep up with her, then I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah, that sounds fun if it's your friend too.
Yeah, I mean, I met her through Strongman, so that's how I know her. But yeah, it should be fun.
Why are you on the fence? It sounds like you're on the fence about doing it though, nationals.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of reasons, but one of them
Life
is
stuff.
just like financial reasons, because I just booked a trip to I just booked a vacation for the very next week after that. And then sometimes I just feel exhausted in general, and the thought of doing all of that is like, do I really want to do it? I'll probably end up doing it because nationals is the most fun competition, because it's like, how when you meet Instagram friends in real life, you've done that before, presumably. It's like meeting them all at once in the same place. And it's literally a giant party where everybody is just cheering everybody on. You see everybody around town outside of the venue. It's just so much fun. So when I think about that aspect, I will probably end up going. Don't tell my coach because he knows I'm on the fence.
And strongman is such a niche sport too. So I imagine you're connected with a lot of other people who are very competitive too. Like I imagine you talk to them regularly, right?
All the time. Yeah, it's great. It's so great. Yeah, in fact, one of them, I did a deadlift charity event last weekend, and one of my strong women friends drove 4 hours to support a couple of other friends of hers, but they didn't show up. So we just hung out the whole time. She hung out with my daughter. She lives 4 hours away, and we got to spend the day just hanging out and chatting and having a great time. It was really fun. It's a great way to meet people. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, it's awesome that you found your community there.
Yeah, you have to find community. That's what I tell people. Doesn't matter where.
Yeah. So that all sounds awesome. I'm really curious about what drew you to veganism, and when did you go vegan, and how does how does eating a plant-based diet work with your training? Like all these aspects. So what's the history here with why you went vegan in the first place?
I don't know why that question is always so hard for me to answer, because there wasn't like a pinpointing moment for me. I think it was just I was always meant to be vegan, because I always growing up was very empathetic towards the plight of animals, towards their suffering. My mom, when I told her I was going vegan, she rolled her eyes and she said, "Well, I'm not surprised." She's been very supportive, by the way. I've just always really, really passionately loved all animals, and I have always felt their suffering when I've seen it, and it didn't ever matter what kind of animal it was. And I did live with someone in college who was also vegan before I went vegan. And he used to talk to me about it a lot. So he probably had some influence over me as well. And I think I watched a couple of really, really old documentaries that he made me watch. So that probably lent itself to my veganism. I went vegetarian when I was 21, which now looking back, no offense to vegetarians, but what's the point, honestly? I mean, it's really they might as well have been eating steaks, right? I mean, not really, but it's not much better than,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
you should just go vegan. Um, and
I
then
agree,
one
but
day,
looking back then, I feel like vegetarian back then is the equivalent, uh, like and how common it was, and like to veganism now to an extent, because veganism was just
true,
so unheard of back then. Like I don't know if anyone was vegan, in the 90s and such. Really, I mean, I guess some people, but
Moby was.
oh yeah, the
Moby
Moby's been vegan
was.
forever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
forever. Yeah. Yeah, no,
that's
you're
funny.
right. I mean, we tried. And then one
Hmm.
day, I can't remember if it was my ex-husband or if it was me, but one of us said to the other, we were standing in our kitchen. Why aren't we vegan? Like, why are we vegetarian and not vegan? And he's like,
Uh-huh.
or whichever one of us was like, that's a good point. And we went vegan that day. The transition for me was very simple, very easy.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I ate like garbage back then, but I never felt like I
Yeah,
needed to eat anything that had animal products in it.
yeah.
And as far as training goes, that's also been pretty easy for me too, because like I said, I
Hmm.
track my macros. I make all of my food for the most part.
Yeah.
I did recently discover Beyond Steak. It's not like actual steaks. It's well, they might
Yeah,
make that
yeah.
too, but it's just like pieces, like if you wanted to make fajitas or
Oh.
something. Yeah,
Oh,
super, super
okay.
delicious. So sometimes I'll add those into my dinner or whatever, but I make my own seitan.
Yum.
I make a lot of protein goodies because I have a major sweet tooth. So I make
Hmm.
protein banana bread, cookies, brownies, all of that stuff, and I eat all that stuff
Yeah.
pretty regularly.
Oh, your
Um,
daughter probably loves you if you're cooking for her too.
yeah, well, I meal prep
She
separately
probably
for my
loves that like
daughter.
crazy.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, I meal prep for her separately, so I've got it all in the freezer for her, ready to go. But
She's
yeah, and then
lucky.
yeah, she's very, very lucky. And I tell her that all the time, by the way. But yeah, so I do. Sometimes I'll do like a no cow bar. Sometimes I'll
Hmm.
do a protein shake because I do like to vary it a little bit. But I vary, like I have like five options for whichever meal. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah,
And I'll
yeah.
swap them out daily. I plan out my meals the night before. This makes me sound psycho, but I enjoy doing it. Um,
I do the same thing, so you're preaching to the choir right now. But
I know you do.
I do get it though. It's like people like you talk about it and you think about other people's point of view, thinking like, look, hearing this,
I
it
know.
does sound
I
insane.
know. It totally does, but I like it and it's sustainable for me and it works. And
Hmm.
you know what I learned when I did that last contest where I broke that record? Um
Hmm.
I didn't tell my coach this because he's always telling me I need to make sure I'm eating protein. I went
Yeah.
on a low protein cycle for like 8 weeks.
How low are we
So I
talking?
mean, I was just gonna say low for me is like 115 between 100 and 120 is where
Okay.
I stayed. I can get a lot more protein than that if I want to, but I
Hmm.
wanted to see how I would perform on lower protein and to see if it's true that you really don't need as much as people say. And
Hmm.
I did fine. So,
Yeah.
you know, I like to have more protein because it satiates me and I like it. But
Hmm.
I did find that I don't need as much as I thought I did. So,
Yeah, I completely agree. And I also experienced the same thing some years ago where I used to always get, more than a gram per pound of body weight because I was going by
mhm.
the info saying that, like plant-based proteins are a little less bioavailable than animal protein and like maybe get
Uh-huh.
like a little more just to be safe. And, the whole number of like a gram per pound of body weight. Every bodybuilder slash strength athlete
Yep.
knows that number. So I was like, I'm just gonna get a little more. I'm gonna get like, me weighing like 180, 190 pounds. I was getting like 200, 210 grams protein, even more sometimes. And I cut it back for like slowly. I was like, do I really need this much? Because I like to eat carbs, a lot more, to be
Yeah.
honest. Yeah.
Yeah. They're
So I just didn't,
fun.
they are. And like, sometimes it is a little limiting on a plant-based diet, I think, to always think about getting super high protein when you're limited on calories.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I mean, yeah, you can eat your ton of seitan and like black bean pasta and like, slabs of tofu, but some days I just don't feel like doing that. So I did a little
Yep.
experiment myself. Yeah, and I did notice that like, yeah, I don't really, I feel like if I get fairly low, like 140, 150, I don't really notice a difference personally.
No, no, I don't notice it at all either. It's really kind of nice. So now I can, swap out if I feel like eating oatmeal instead of a protein bar. It's
Yeah.
not a problem because I love me some oatmeal.
Do you ever mix protein powder in the oatmeal?
I've done it before, but it's been a while. I am
I love
very
doing that.
plain. Yeah, I'm very
Okay.
plain with my oatmeal. I just do like blueberries because I'm boring, but I love it.
Plain oatmeal with blueberries?
Yeah, but I'll use either Walden Farms syrup or I'll use sucralose, which I'm
Oh,
sure somebody's going to tell me is terrible for me, but I have very few vices, okay?
I will not be the one to tell you that because I'm all about the artificial sweeteners. I see no
Yep.
reason to not indulge in them. But that's a whole other thing. There definitely is a subset of especially people who follow a plant-based diet who are very anti-artificial sweeteners, as you
I
know.
know it. Don't I know it?
Yeah.
Yep. But a lot of those same people are drinking alcohol and um, whatever else they do. So whatever. We all have
Yeah.
our vices. My vice is Monster energy drinks. That's
The
pretty
zero
much
calorie
it.
ones?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I quit
Um,
drinking coffee and I quit drinking alcohol 3 years ago. So I
uh-huh.
gotta have something.
Why did you give up the coffee?
I actually only gave up the coffee maybe 6 weeks ago because
Okay.
I it well, I found myself in my classroom. I circulate my classroom the whole class period, which is 90 minutes a class period. And I
Hmm.
find myself dizzy and sweating, and I get really, really hungry really, really fast. And I just
Oh,
feel
wow.
terrible. So as soon as I quit, it just all went away. And now I just
And
feel
not
great.
You don't get that with Monster energy drinks.
I think the difference is that when I drink my Monster, it's later in the day and I've got more food in me. So yeah,
Uh,
it doesn't, I mean, I feel it, but it doesn't affect me in the same way that coffee does. Because coffee in the morning on a
wow.
bowl of
Okay.
cereal is terrible. Yeah.
That's
So I don't
so
miss
funny.
it.
I get the exact opposite effect with coffee, where if I drink coffee in the morning, it kills my appetite for hours, and I just do not get hungry.
What?
I've heard of a lot of
What?
people like that too. Yeah.
I wish I
It
had
just,
that problem.
were you drinking black coffee or were you drinking any?
Yes, just black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the exact opposite reaction for me, which is really funny. It just goes to show how different we all
Wow.
are.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I wish I had your problem. That would be great. I'd just drink coffee and then I wouldn't, because by the time lunch comes around, I'm dying of hunger,
Yeah. That's part of the
even
reason
without the
why
coffee.
yeah, that's part of the reason why it's so easy for me to just get really lean because my appetite just it's shot from drinking coffee. I don't know. It's a blessing,
Wow.
but it's also like I don't know. It's just so funny to hear how different everyone is.
It's a blessing and it's a curse. You've probably never seen the show Monk, have you? I always say that nobody
I
knows
haven't seen
Monk.
Monk. No, I haven't
Dang it,
seen
it's
it.
such a
No,
great show.
but
Anyway, it's a line from
I've
there.
heard good things.
Very good show.
So, how do you feel? Do you feel like when you're eating a plant-based diet, it really just comes down to macros in terms of like equating everything with progress with someone who's eating an omnivorous diet, maybe?
I think that to perform to the best of your ability as an athlete, I do
Hmm.
think macros are important. And I know, everybody talks, when you're in the vegan groups online, they're like, well, what should my macro split be? I don't know what yours should be. I just know what mine is and what feels good
Hmm.
for me. Like you said, when you cut back on your protein and added more carbs, you felt good and you liked it. Well, maybe
Hmm.
somebody else isn't going to feel that way. I don't know. But
Hmm.
for me personally, I can perform pretty well on a lowish carb diet because I can go pretty high with my protein with all the stuff I make. I can do 170 this is a lot of protein. If I wanted to, I could do 160, 170 grams of protein and still stay within 1,700 calories if I wanted. So that
Oh
keeps my
my
carbs
God.
really, really, yeah. I
I
call
got to get
myself the
your
macro wizard,
recipes. I
macro
have to get
queen.
your recipes. That's
Yeah,
insane.
I'll send you whatever. So, but I've been performing just fine on lower carbs, like I've adjusted to it. Um,
Hmm.
I also think that quitting alcohol was absolutely life-changing for me in many, many ways. It
Hmm.
improved my performance. Um, I think that's part of why I can go lower carb is just that I'm not drinking. I have boundless energy all the time because I
Hmm.
don't drink alcohol. Like it literally changes your entire world.
Hmm.
So that I think has played a role in my performance because when I was powerlifting, I was drinking quite a bit.
Hmm.
And so I wasn't, I was just an average powerlifter. And now I'm
Hmm.
getting more sleep. My nutrition is on point, and I don't drink alcohol. And I do just what I need to do in my training. I don't overtrain, which I think is a
Hmm.
common problem with a lot of people. They think they need to be in the gym 7 days a week, no days off. No, you
Right.
need to take days off, especially as a master's athlete, because the older you get, the more time you need to recover. So I'm
Hmm.
only training 4 days a week tops, aside from my cardio binges right now, but that's going to stop soon.
Yeah.
So
So you touched on a lot of really interesting things there. Um, so one thing that I was just kind of I wanted to hear your perspective on right there is, do you think that a plant-based diet has any disadvantages compared to an animal, like a diet including animal products? Do you think that it just comes down to maybe getting your macros and calories right, or do you think there's anything else in there that could be accounted for that could maybe help someone on a plant-based diet?
I mean, I think people who are not vegan will tell you that you're going to be, well, you hear it all the time, protein deficient, which we know is not the case. And then they say
Uh-huh.
you're missing B12. Well, I just take a B12 supplement.
Exactly.
But protein, carbs, and fat, period. I mean, I would love for somebody to tell me that I'm not a good athlete or that I'm not healthy or that
Hmm.
I'm deficient in some area because of what I eat. Are there vegans
Hmm.
out there who are deficient? Of course. Are there
Yeah.
meat eaters who are out there who are deficient? Absolutely.
Hmm.
Also, so you got me on the soapbox here. Also, I always want to know if these people who ask me, are you getting enough protein? Do they know how much protein they're getting? Or
Good
I mean, I
point.
get
Good
asked by
point.
random people all the time, do you get enough protein? Well, how much protein do you get? Well, I don't know. Well, then why are you asking me? Maybe concern yourself
Yeah.
with your own. So anyway, back to your question. No, I truly do not. I mean, I've been doing this for 14 years. And in
Hmm.
that 14 years, I have built literally all of my muscle because I didn't start working out
Seriously,
until
yeah.
after I was vegan. So none of my strength accomplishments are are pre-vegan, not a single
Hmm.
one. Um, I mean,
That's
except
amazing.
for when I was a kid. So
Yeah.
no, I don't think so. And then you could always make the argument, well, if you ate meat, you'd be stronger. Okay. Well, if I
Always.
got on steroids, I would also be stronger. Or if
Hmm.
I gained 50 pounds, I would be stronger. I mean, what's your
Hmm.
point? So you'd always say that about
Yeah.
something.
One thing that I think is really interesting is how small of a percentage the world is that's vegan. It's very, very small. And to be
Yeah.
honest, there's a lot of athletes relatively that are actually, following a plant-based diet that are doing great. And if you take into account how small the population is actually vegan, it's pretty crazy. Like you hear
I
about.
agree.
Yeah, like there's athletes at every almost every sport that are plant-based, like at the very top, and you think about how little a number that is overall in the whole population, and it's pretty impressive if you can break it down by that. But there's always people who are like, oh, there's no good vegan athletes, and it's like there's literally like teams of football
Yeah.
players who are all plant-based and stuff. There's powerlifters at
Yeah.
the very top who are plant-based. Like if you look into it, there's there's like no evidence to ever believe that someone following a plant-based diet wouldn't be just as good as someone who,
Right.
you know, it just doesn't really, you just don't see it.
No. And look at Robert Cheek. He's been vegan for what, like 30 years? Look at
Yeah.
that guy. He's like jacked and he's a very successful athlete, very healthy.
That's so funny you
So,
mentioned him because I've been talking to him about coming on in March to the
oh, that
podcast.
would be awesome.
So
You absolutely have to have him on.
I know I want to hear his perspective so bad for someone who's been vegan for so long, you know?
Yes. Yeah, I definitely want to hear that. You definitely need to have him
Yeah, that's
on.
so funny you mentioned him. But yeah, it goes to show like, yeah, veganism is easier than ever now, like compared to 30 years ago. I mean, you've
Uh-huh.
been vegetarian for a long time. You can even relate like, to turkey and stuff all the way back then. Did that even exist? Maybe,
Um,
but
no, it didn't, but we had Morning Star burgers, which are terrible, by the way. Oh,
oh,
sorry, I shouldn't say that, but yeah,
hey,
the old school Morning Star burgers, that's what we pretty much subsisted on. And my ex-husband would make like BLTs with some old school fake bacon brand that
hmm
tasted like it just tasted like salt, basically. But you know what? We powered through it and we made it. And now I cook. Part of why I cook so much, this is a slight tangent, but
No,
is
it's okay.
to prove to people that you can eat beautiful food.
Hmm
But I also cook for my daughter because I one of my goals is for her to never ever feel like she's missing out and to never
hmm
feel like she needs to start eating meat, eggs, dairy, any of that. I want her to feel comfortable in her decision. Like, oh, I'm not
hmm
missing anything. And that's how she feels because she eats so much great food.
Yeah, you're a role model. I mean, you lift crazy amounts of weight. You're ridiculously strong. Your cardiovascular system is better than everybody else. And and you're healthy, obviously. You're a great cook. So you're showing everyone that you can be fit and you can eat amazing food on a plant-based diet. How much
That's
better
my
can that
goal.
possibly be?
Yeah, that's my goal. That's my life goal.
I love that.
And I love to
If
feed people treats for that reason too, because then they're like, "This is vegan." Yeah, it's just food, but yes, it's vegan.
Yeah, so when you would like bring food out to the like your strongman friends and strongwomen friends who could you come over to work out in your garage and such, like they're impressed, or do they have anything to say about being
I
vegan in
mean,
general?
no, they don't really comment on that. I think at this
Hmm
point I've established myself at like they don't question me. They don't um they're all cool about it. They don't give me crap about it. But they also don't question my choice
hmm
because they see how hard I work and they see that I'm successful. So none of them are ever going to say to anybody, you can't be vegan and be an athlete. They all know. They're
Yeah.
not switching, but they at least accept
hmm
it. So that's,
And the
I
first
guess,
step is education, right? Like the first step is
exactly.
just showing people that it can be done, and then it's a slow process, unfortunately, but there's more and more plant-based options. People are eating more and more plant-based, and people are
Yeah.
accepting that it's probably the way to go. These people are like, I guess I should do it.
Yeah. Dang it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But as long as the whole population is slowly adding a little bit more, that's still a big difference to killing less animals, which is,
I
in my
agree.
opinion, great.
I agree.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I don't want to take too much up of your time here. There's a couple more little things, a couple of questions I have on here that I still wanted to ask you.
Sure.
So if you had to suggest anything for an athlete who maybe wanted to switch to a plant-based diet, what advice would you give them to maintain their athletic performance and just have like a smooth transition over to eating plant-based?
Oof. Start simple.
Hmm
Um, some people say that you need to transition slowly, and if that's what works for you, then do that.
Yeah.
Personally, I found it easier to just go cold turkey. Do your research. Find find someone who you respect in the vegan community. It's very easy to find these people online. Anybody who's watching now, when you release this podcast, can DM me. I'll give out my Instagram. And I always like to guide people to several blogs that are very easy. I like the easy recipes to get people started that are delicious, that they can go back to over and over again. So find easy cookbooks, easy recipes, and reach out to vegan athletes or other vegans that you are aware of. Start following vegans on social media. There are so many amazing ones out there, including you, who people can follow to get, you're welcome, to get good advice from and to steer you in the right direction. And also remember that you're not going to lose strength when you go vegan, as long as you are educating yourself. You don't go vegan and then automatically go weak and pale. It's not how it works. So that, I think that would be my advice. And stick to if you're nervous about it, just a couple of different bloggers or recipe books. Just stick with that for a while. The ones that are going to be good, then start branching out. You don't need to buy the packaged processed foods. If you want to, go for it. There's nothing wrong with that. But you don't have to do that. You can cook it all, or you can go the packaged food route. Nobody cares. Oh, people care, but ignore them.
People care, but they don't matter.
They don't matter. The people that care do not matter. Exactly.
Yeah. Would you recommend maybe that they track calories or macros, or do you think that's maybe overkill?
It's such a hard one. I would say first going vegan, no, I would absolutely not, because I feel like that's just adding an additional element of complication to something that might already be daunting. If you're already used to tracking your calories and macros, maybe, but I would say at first just focus maybe on simple transitions, simple switches.
Sure.
Join, there's a group on Facebook called Vegan Bodybuilding and Nutrition, and it has really good resources in its files. Spreadsheets. I'm talking like tons of spreadsheets, science-based research that is really accessible. So that would also be a good place to go.
Oh, that's great info. I didn't know that was a thing.
I actually created one of those. I forgot about this. I created one of the spreadsheets in that group. It's a spreadsheet with swaps. So if you need...
Oh, that's cool.
I haven't looked
Like
at it in
chicken
so many
for
years.
seitan or something.
I think it was like it has like fats, protein, and carbs, all with roughly the same amount of carbs and calories. So this column is all, let's say, 100 calorie or 100 grams of protein or whatever. And then it would say X grams of seitan equals that many grams of protein. Anyway, it's a handy spreadsheet, so you can kind of mix and match. That would be a good place to go.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And then just one last question for you. If you had to give anyone advice for getting into strongman or strongwoman, what recommendations would you give for that?
That's a really good question, because I feel like I just fell into it. You would have to find a strongman gym. That is the number one thing. And know that you might have to drive. Right now, I drive 30 minutes every Sunday to the gym we're training at. People drive farther than that on a regular basis, and that's okay. So you find a strongman gym, reach out to that gym and ask them if they have a team. And that team will 100% welcome you into their fold, and they will teach you the basics. So I would say that's where you need to start for sure. And obviously there are resources online, but I would just start by Googling strongman gym. Also Google powerlifting gyms, call them up and see if they have strongman equipment there, because a lot of powerlifting gyms have that equipment too. They might even have a team as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I have noticed that. It seems like they're pretty intertwined to some extent.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're both so niche, you know. It feels like blending over is a nice way to kind of blend these two communities who are just super serious about getting stronger.
We all just like to lift very heavy things because it's fun.
It boils down to that.
It sure does. Find something that's fun. Find what you love. But try Strongman first, because then you're going to love it.
Hey, that's actually a great closing statement, and I love that. So, Jen, where can people find you on social media or just wherever?
Yeah, so my Instagram is _jacked_Jenny_ underscore Jack
So
underscore Jenny underscore. Yeah, it got complicated because my account got hacked. 3 underscores. Yeah, my first account got hacked, so I had to kind of change it up. But yeah, that's my Instagram. Feel free to
damn hackers.
Reach out. I know.
Terrible.
It was devastating. I lost over 2,000 posts and over 2,000 followers. Yeah. But whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, that's so much history, though. It's probably.
I know.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I survived it, but yeah, that's my new account. So feel free to reach out to me there. I love talking about strongman. I love talking about nutrition, veganism, all of that stuff. So anybody should feel free to reach out for any of those reasons.
Awesome. That's so nice of you. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me on. It was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like this is a lot of really great info, and it's great to talk to someone who's just a very competitive vegan strong woman. It's such a niche thing. So very excited to talk to you about all this. Awesome.
It was fun. It was fun being on here with you. Thanks for having me. It was really a pleasure.
Cool. Thank you, Jen. Have a good night.
You're welcome. You too. Bye, Ryan.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Ethics Approach podcast. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't already, it would mean a ton if you gave the podcast a follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Radio Public, Pocket Casts, Stitcher, Player FM, Pinecast, or any other service you're listening to it on, and if you subscribe to the Ethics Fitness YouTube channel, Instagram page, Twitter, and Facebook page. Feel free to check out the articles, training and nutrition programs, coaching services, and merch on ethicsfitness.com. And if you like what I'm making, dropping a like, commenting, and sharing would mean a ton to me. Thank you so much again, and I'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.